Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen, whoever is watching this. I am Jeff Ivey, and it's Thursday night, a little later than usual, because we're old. And this is my very best friend, David Nowell.
Hello.
It seems like he's on the other side of the planet, but he's just in South Carolina, just below Charlotte. And I'm in Garner. I've left, a few times, but now I'm back. And tonight we are going to discuss our favorite album by our favorite band. I guess that's what it is. And mine being Van Halen, that was the band, that's my all-time favorite band, of course. And my favorite album is Fair Warning.
Oh, yeah. One of the greats.
Yep. It was released in 1981. This is I bought this album. I can't even remember when I bought this freaking album, man, but I've had it for a long time. And the crazy thing is I had an album collection. It was I got close to 100 albums. And, at one point in time, my brother, Milton Andrew Smith, he was roommate with me a while back, and he had a cat named Zap, a white cat, and Zap got a hold of using my records as a scratching post, and tore just about every one of my records, the sides of them, that up, but these avoided the claw. So this record is still in really good shape. I've got, and it's got still got the inner sleeve. It's got the boys right there. Michael Anthony before the beard.
Yep.
And this famous saying from Mean Street. And someone said, "Fair warning, Lord, will strike that poor boy down. Turned from hunted into hunter, went to hunt somebody down." Whoever that is, I haven't a freaking clue. But they hunted him down. Anyway, amazing album. There's, I believe there's 9 songs on it.
What year did you actually start listening to this album? Was it 81 or was it after?
No, it was actually around 82.
82. So
82. So Diver Down probably won't too far out when I really started listening to this album. But still got it, man. I love it. It's crazy. Just albums, man. I mean, these were the thing back in the day, man.
Yeah. Well,
this is how we handled them. You had to be careful. You didn't want to get smudgy fingerprints on them.
The people who respected your albums handled them like that. Then everybody else was like.
But you got tracks. You got Mean Street, which is the first song, and Dirty Movies, which is my favorite of all of them. Center Swing, Hear About It Later. You got Unchained, Push Comes to Shove, So This Is Love, Sunday Afternoon in the Park, and One Foot Out the Door. And I don't know if that was Walt or not. Excuse me. I heard a ding. No, that's somebody for Laurel. Sorry, this is Laurel's song. Anyway, but yeah. So Mean Street starts out with this crazy tapping that Eddie does. That he said he learned from bass players. It's a little bass playing technique, slapping deep, 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 deep. And it's like, does he do that? And after watching it several times, I've seen him do it live several times, and it's crazy because it seems like what he's tapping isn't what he's playing. It's like he does some crazy stuff, but that's Eddie. It's Eddie.
Yeah.
And then you got Mean Street, which used to be it was a song called Voodoo Queen. back before they even got signed. It was a song that was called Voodoo Queen. Had the same Donna 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 Donna. That was on Voodoo Queen, that song. So
Okay.
that's actually it came. This came out in '81, but that song was way back before they even got signed.
Did it
So that's
sound
crazy.
did it sound as dirty and as rough as Mean Street did?
No, Voodoo Queen was kind of a dumb song, man.
Yeah, that's the one thing I always wondered about, because if they did
And
have these songs
hey,
beforehand, were they
hey,
heavy?
hey, I'll tell you this. You know, this is home, this is Main Street. That riff
Mm-hmm.
was in that song, but that riff was a verse line. The verses
Okay.
were over that riff, so it's kind of they changed it around. But I think they did a damn good job changing it around.
Oh yeah.
But Dirty Movies, I don't know where that came from, but that's my favorite Van Halen song of all time. And it's crazy because there's no solo on it. You know,
Yeah.
there's a little break that maybe count. It can't. I don't know. I don't even think it counts as a solo, but there's no like distinctive Eddie Van Halen solo on it, and that's the crazy thing about it. And it's my favorite song. You know, you think Eddie Van Halen, you're thinking, all that shit, but
Yeah.
listen to that song. It's just so many layers to it. So many. You got slide, you got chunk, and you got like the bass is a boom, 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 boom. And it's been rumored that uh, Eddie Van Halen played bass on just about every album after the first one. So the bass is probably Eddie on this, which is crazy to think about, but
Yeah.
it probably is. It's amazing what you find out later on in life.
Yeah.
About things. But anyway, Dirty Movies is my favorite. It's about, a girl and she had Hollywood dreams and she ends up, doing dirty movies. But anyway, that's a cool song. There's a little break in it where David Walker's telling her to take it off. And it's just so many different parts of this song. It's just an amazing song. Center Swing is it's pretty good rocker. It's like get out and push, which is something I never understood, but it's got a cool riff in it during the choruses, and then the verses during the verses it's got a cool riff. I'm going too fast. I need to slow down. But you got and now we're wasting time. That's pretty cool, man. There's a lot of cool parts of that song. And let's see, Hear About It Later. It's got that beautiful beginning. I love the beginning, that little flange little thing he does. But that's one of my favorite songs on the album. It's Dirty Movies, Hear About It Later, and then Unchained, which is next, which is their, Unchained is the song that brought that album to life, I guess, brought that album fame. And that's probably the only well-known song on that album.
Did
But
they release
This Is Love was a good one too.
Did they release anything other than Unchained as a single? Or do you know?
I honestly do not think so. I think Unchained was it. They may have released So This Is Love, which is that's probably the most commercial song on the album.
Yeah, that's their happy song on that album.
Yes.
Everything else is kind of angry, and the lyrics
Oh
are
God,
kind
yeah.
of
Eddie was at his wit's end on this album, and it shows. He's angry, and that's why it's probably the best album to me out of the catalog, because Van Halen one was hungry. They were hungry, and it was so aggressive, and it was cool as hell. Great album. Favorite one is just Eddie, just had it up to here.
Yeah,
had it up to here with it.
I just looked on there, and they released 4 singles. The first one was, that's what it says on here.
Okay.
But maybe one's a B-side. Mean Street.
Yeah. Okay.
Push Comes to Shove.
Wow. Okay.
So This Is Love, which was the only one that charted at 110.
Wow.
And then Unchained. Wait. Oh, and Hear About It Later. So They've got
Okay.
5
5.
songs, which
Okay. There you go.
that's I don't know. That's from Wikipedia, so Lord only knows how true that is, but that's kind of weird. I wouldn't have. First of
The only
all,
one the only one I knew of was Unchained
yeah,
being,
and,
so
and
I don't know.
you would have thought it would have at least made the top 100, but yeah,
I know. That's nuts, man. But I remember when the videos came out, when they did the live videos from Oakland. And back then, if you saw live Van Halen, anything live Van Halen, it was like a rare gem. It was like, whoa, I've got to, because I've recorded them before on like an audio tape. When I saw
yeah,
it on TV, I said, oh God. And I would record it, and I heard the audio. It would be on audio tape, but it would be the live video, which was cool as hell. But now you can just go to it and look at them, man. It's so easy. But back in the day, it was not easy. You had to wait by the TV and hope and pray that they play one of those songs. But Unchained was the most played one, which was a great. And Eddie, at that point in time was like he was still burning it up, but it was so his playing was so aggressive around that time.
yeah,
On those 3 live videos, he was throwing down. That's probably the best I've heard Eddie. First album was great. Them live during that tour was fantastic. But Fair Warning would probably be the tour I would love to see out of all of them. But it's a great album. It's my favorite album. It's crazy because there's more songs on 1, more songs on 2. Women and Children First, yeah. But Fair Warning is just a dark album, and that's when they did a lot of overdubbing. They did a
yeah,
lot of overdubs, man. Eddie spent a lot of time in the studio in the wee hours of the morning. When everybody else was asleep, he was recording, and it's just a thick album. It's
yeah,
a very thick album, and that's where, to me, that's where I hear his brown sound. Everybody's talking about Eddie's brown sound, and I definitely hear it in that album. It's just crazy because you listen to Women and Children First, it's like it's thin.
yeah,
But each album is different. None of the albums of those 6 albums, they do not sound the same. And it's crazy. But Fair One is the thickest of all of them.
yeah,
I mean, to me, it's even thicker than '84. I mean, '84 is a kick-ass album, but it didn't have the thickness and the balls that Fair Warning had. And the album cover, good God, man! I mean, really, I mean, that's crazy. And most of these pictures relate to a song. Like Main Street right there, and then there's One Foot Out the Door, and I have no idea what the hell that is. Where he's running into a wall. But that one looks to me like it would be Dirty Movies. They're having a little, and I don't really know. I don't really know the meaning of the. This guy's on a damn conveyor belt, fixing to
I was
get.
gonna, I was gonna
He's fixing
say
to get squashed.
I need to check out the lyrics again, figure that one out.
And then you got them examining some. I don't. That might be Dirty Movies too, because it looks like 2 people in a damn test tube. It's just crazy, man.
Yeah,
It's crazy. That's what cocaine will do. That's how it does your mind, man. It makes you come up with crazy shit like that. But anyway, I don't know how much time we got left, but that right there, that's my favorite album of Van Halen of all time, of their career. And I'm gonna tell you the worst album. I'm sorry. I'm
oh
gonna
no,
shut
go
up.
ahead.
But there's a lot of great live albums out there. You got
Yeah,
Peter Frampton, and you got Kiss albums, of course. But the worst live album out there to date is Van Halen Tokyo Dome. I listened to it today, and David Lee Roth, I'm sorry, man. It's tragic. It's just tragic. Everybody else is great on it, but David Lee Roth killed that album, man. And I don't even know why they put it out like it is. I don't even know why they even put it out. Anyway, that's just my opinion. They're like buttholes.
Well, it's so bad. You kind of wonder if maybe somebody was trying to uh I don't know. It's like maybe they didn't want it to be good, as funny as that sounds. Sometimes maybe they didn't want anything terribly
They got
wrong.
their wish.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
got their wish if that's what they wanted, man. Because I listened to it today, and I was like, because I've got a Van Halen box set on my phone,
Yeah.
and that album is included in it, and and I've listened to it, man. It's terrible. It's terrible. Anyway, so that being said, fair warning, my favorite Van Halen album. Now, your turn.
All right. All right. Since we're doing favorite album by favorite band,
Mm-hmm.
you heard yours in 82.
Huh? What?
Mine, you said you heard Fair Warning in
Yes.
82,
Yes,
basically.
I did.
This is my favorite album, Rock and
Oh
Roll
yeah.
Over.
Yeah.
And
Love that album cover.
I heard that in 1976. Maybe the beginning of 77, but
You were like 6 or 5, weren't you?
I was 6.
Yeah.
And I've kind of told the story about my brother going to go see him and then his friend bringing that album over. And the big thing about that album, that catches Kiss at their peak. Destroyer
Great
was
album.
Alive and Destroyer were before it. And those were the two albums that caught everybody's attention, Rock Roll All Night Live, and then Destroyer with Beth and Detroit Rock City and all that.
Yeah.
But Rock and Roll Over was right at the peak because as much as I love Love Gun, which came next, Love Gun was everybody beginning to turn on each other, everybody beginning to get a lot of money, and that was the beginning of the end for the original band. But
Greed.
when Kiss went into the studio with Eddie Kramer, they were still hungry. They were trying to prove that Destroyer wasn't a fluke. And basically, maybe for the first time ever, other than the first album where you have your whole life to write it.
Yeah.
Most of the songs that were on Rock and Roll Over were actually songs that were in the running for Destroyer before they decided they wanted Bob Ezrin to come in. And when they did, all the songs about sex and things like that, they got put on hold. And I've heard some of the demos, and having the extra time, every one of those songs is so much better than the demos. Had different words. Some of the choruses were different, stuff like that.
And these songs you're talking about they were the songs that are on Rock and Roll Over now?
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
They basically actually had time to refine the songs, which
Okay.
they never did before. They were always in a rush to get that album out because they were basically, if you count live albums, they were doing 2 albums a year.
Gosh.
And it was just like boom, 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 But with Rock and Roll Over, they were able to actually, I think, rework those songs. And in my opinion, it's the greatest album ever made. It's everything that I listened to after that is going to be compared to it and always fail because it was just great. But I remember when I got it and I put the needle down on it, and the first song is I Want You.
Mm-hmm.
And it starts out with this acoustic guitar and Paul singing real light over it.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it's like da-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na. Yep. And it kicks in and I was just like, what is this? This is unbelievable. Yeah. And I'm sitting here and I'm looking at the cover. I'm like, oh, I'm like I'm 6 years old. These are superheroes.
Yeah.
And then the next song is Take Me, which is just it's less than 3 minutes long, and like 9 out of the 10 albums or 9 out of the 10 songs on the album, they're all about sex, which at 6 years old, I had no idea what I was listening to. So I'm running around the house singing I Want You and Take Me and everything else. Not a clue. But Take Me was just a great energy song. And I would really love if they had played that a little bit more live.
That's a good one.
The next song was Calling Dr. Love, which is probably the most famous song on there. Has
of course it's crazy.
Oh yeah, has one of Ace's best guitar solos. But if I tell people, if you really want to hear Ace Frehley really at his best. Rock and Roll Over, they're short solos. Most of the solos are not real long. But man, it's just pure energy, and it's just raw, and he just
They're
seems like he
effective.
tears into it. Then the fourth song is, I don't think there's a weak song on the album, but if I had to pick which one is the weakest out of the great ones, number 4, Ladies Room.
Yeah.
I've always loved that song, but if I had to pick one, that's it. But it's still just a great song, and
For my money. Yeah.
I was just like, I'm 6. I'm going, why do they need to meet him in the ladies' room? What is this about? Is the men's room, clogged up? But
Damn.
the next song is one of Peter Criss's best vocals ever, Baby Driver. And I've always loved that song. Most of the songs he wrote that got brought into the band were not very heavy sounding, but Baby Driver, that it's just so great. And then his voice, he's got such a gruff thing going,
he's got a lot of soul in his voice.
Yeah, it's like heavy metal Rod Stewart thing kind of going there. Yeah. Maybe a little Bryan Adams, but Baby Driver, I just remember I used to love that song. And when you love Kiss, because all 4 are so big, you're always like, what song goes with who? And so luckily it was easy to tell that was Peter because of the voice.
Yeah.
The next one, number 6, or first one on side 2, is Love 'Em and Leave 'Em.
Yeah.
And now, thanks to U2, I see that they've got a video for it, which is just great. And you kind of get to see Gene singing it, and he's the full demon, and he's just all into it and stuff like that. But Love 'Em and Leave 'Em was always such a great song to me. The next song on side 2 is the song that probably was the most surprising, Mr. Speed.
Yeah.
Because if there's ever been a Kiss song that had country to it, it was Mr. Speed.
Yeah.
And I can remember people kind of going, what is this?
Yeah.
And I loved it. I always said if I ever had my own band, we would call ourselves Mr. Speed. And of course, now that there's 300 Kiss tribute bands, there's of course Mr. Speed out there, so that's gone.
Oh yeah, Mr. Speedo.
I would love to know what Paul was thinking when he wrote that, because a little bit later on, he wrote a song kind of based on another artist I'll get to. The third song on side 2, See You in Your Dreams, is a song that he later on remade on his Gene's solo album. And he added like female background singers and stuff. And I don't know why he liked that so much, because the original on Rock and Roll Over, it's just such a good song, just straight ahead. Yeah. Great solo. Just like I said, with Ace, he could not be a shredder today or in the 80s. Oh, no. But he had this style where, you could just tell it was him, and it fit the Kiss songs perfect.
It did.
And then, fourth song on side 2, Paul, I think he liked to write like other people. He took it as a challenge. And so he decided he was going to write a Rod Stewart song like Maggie May. Yeah. So he wrote Hard Luck Woman. Oh, yeah. And Peter sang it. And if I'm not mistaken, that might have been their second biggest hit. Maybe, until I think Beth was bigger, but those finally got topped by I Was Made for Loving You. But it was a big hit, but I'm not sure they ever played Hard Luck Woman in concert, which is a shame because it's such a great song.
It is. It's a kick-ass tune.
And later on, Garth Brooks did a cover version of it, which I thought it was pretty good. It's one of those songs when you have like a simple acoustic ballad, as long as you've got a good voice, you can pull it off. And then, Rags.
Rags. That's what
Rags. Yeah, that's her name, Rags. And then found like the final song on it. Once again, my 6-year-old self running around the house singing Making Love. I didn't know any better.
Yeah.
Amy,
all night long, as a matter of fact.
Amy always says she thinks that might be one of the things that's wrong with me, is that at a very young age, I was just listening to all these rock bands and all these sexual songs and had no clue. Knew all the words,
You grew up fast with Kiss.
but Making Love was just such a great song. Just great chunky riffs, just like you love the Van Halen album because it's heavy. There's
Yeah.
something, this is not their heaviest album, but there's something about it. It's the one, I think it was the last album where the four of them kind of just went in and played all their parts and just it was them. Most of the writing, I think Sean Delaney may have helped co-write a couple of songs, but for the most part, it was all written by the band. And I just tell everybody, if you want to hear Kiss, Destroyer is a great album. It's got all the great production. But if you want to hear what Kiss with the energy and the aggression before they got too rich and too famous, listen to Rock and Roll Over because it's the songs are the best they were. The sound was the best. Even their costumes in 76, to this day, I still love them. But
I have very vivid memories of seeing people that I knew back then draw them like on the book cover. You know, you covered your school books. You know, and they would draw that. I would see that everywhere. The album cover. You know, their faces like that. I would see it a lot of places, man. A lot of people would draw that stuff. As a lot of people like that album cover. And it was a cool album.
Oh,
Very
yeah.
cool cover, man. Jeez. So, and you remember when the double platinum came out, and people said, you know, I wonder what they look like without makeup. People would take paper and draw over draw, you know, because it was textured, you know, and they said, oh, well, that's what Paul looks like without makeup, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Crazy, man. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't know why. I was never really all that. I mean, I was curious, but it didn't burn in me because in my head, especially at such a young age, there was part of me that thought that's just them.
Yeah.
That's, you know, why would I care? And I don't know which magazine it was. And I think I've got the magazine upstairs somewhere, but I had a magazine that caught Paul and Gene in like Studio 54. And one of them was like this, and the other one was like this, and they caught pictures of them.
Yeah.
And there was part of me that was excited, but there was part of me that was like, that's probably not even them, because I was just like, you know, I was a little kid. They were superheroes, so why in the world would they have real faces like, you know?
Oh, I
Everybody?
know, man. I know. I remember when I sent you where's that picture at, man? I sent you that picture of them. It was a cool picture of them with that. Oh yeah, like this one right here, man. If you can see it.
Yeah.
Them without the makeup. But that was like, I wonder when that was. That was probably very, very early Kiss because all their hair's long.
Yeah. Oh
And all
yeah.
that stuff. Jeans is like all parted down the middle and shit. But yeah.
I would guess first two albums somewhere in there. They look like a band that would have been opening for Deep Purple.
Oh my God, yeah, yeah, that's
You know,
right. They do,
that's the
man.
time period and everything. It's a little bit of a shame that somehow, some way Van Halen couldn't have opened for Kiss, but Van Halen got too big too fast. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
they
Because it's
yeah.
like opening for Journey and Black Sabbath, and then it was on.
The
They were
next year, the next year they were headlining.
Yeah.
Because they blew everybody else away pretty much, and it would have been interesting to see them open up for Kiss.
It would have been. It's
Who would have?
funny.
Who knows? I mean, I don't know how it would have turned out. You know, I
Well,
mean,
Van Halen always sold a lot more records than Kiss.
yeah,
Always, every album sold more. And as far as touring in the United States, Van Halen was probably bigger than Kiss, even though Kiss had their high moment. Van
oh
Halen
yeah,
was bigger for a longer period of time.
yeah,
There were some points where Kiss was the biggest thing on the planet, but Van Halen was too. But worldwide, that's the one place where I can say Kiss has Van Halen beat, because Van Halen is such an American band
yeah.
that it's funny when you hear people from other countries, they don't really talk about Van Halen the way we do.
No,
It's, you know,
no,
I think they like them, But in the United States, Van Halen is in the conversation for the greatest American band. And,
Oh yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, as far as the fun they add, I'd probably pick them. I think they're in it, Aerosmith and Kiss. And I'm sure I'm forgetting somebody. I'm not saying Bon Jovi, so that ain't happening. But but yeah, man, it's just it's funny. But it's funny that well, like Fair Warning, you were the one who introduced me to that. I had heard the first three albums,
Yeah.
and I'd heard a little bit of Diver Down,
Yeah.
and then
Dude.
84 came out and just blew me away.
Yeah.
And that's when you and I started being friends,
Yeah.
and you're always talking about Fair Warning. And then I went back, and um I'd probably still say the first Van Halen's my favorite,
Yeah.
but holy cow. Um especially the first side of Fair Warning, that is as good as anybody's album. And So This Is
So
Love
heavy.
to me is just one of it's probably in my top two or three songs by them. I just
And
always love that song. And I like I like David Lee Roth when he's walking around puffing out his chest, flirting with the women songs. Those are mine.
yeah. 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 Um, what I used to do with Fair Warning is when, we had had the boxes, our little radio boom boxes, you had the balance, you could go from left to right. And, there would be times when I would just pan it all the way to the right, pan it all the way to the right. And that would be, like in Dirty Movies, there's a chunky part and then there's the slide guitar part.
Yeah.
And you could pan it to the right, and all you hear was when he played slide, and everything else was in the background. But then when you went to the left side, all you heard was a chunky guitar and you didn't hear any slide. And that was so cool, man. That was so cool. I did that to every song on that album.
It's crazy that Ted Templeman produced it like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
What I would love, and of course will never happen, because if it was going to happen, it already would have happened. But I always thought it'd be so cool if they released not just a CD, but they had an interactive thing where you could turn stuff up. Because I've always like, oh, I'd like to hear just the bass isolated on this song, or just the drums. And it's funny because now I love getting on YouTube and looking at isolation videos.
Yeah.
They're just absolutely amazing. I know I've shared it with you because I've shared it with everybody, but there's a Colorado Bulldog by Mr. Big. There is a video, and it's just Billy Sheehan and Pat Torpey.
Oh,
It's
Jesus.
bass and drums. And I've probably
sure
watched it 100 times because I'm like, who in the world would write a song that they had to do all that just to play the rhythm?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm thinking Daddy, Brother, Lover, Little Boy with the with the drill. Okay. But yeah, Colorado Bulldog what album is that off of? Lean Into It?
No, Lean Into It is Daddy, Brother, Lover, and Little Boy.
Okay.
I believe Colorado Bulldog is off of hang on.
God.
It's the third album.
Bump Ahead?
Yes, it's Bump Ahead. I was getting ready to look.
Okay.
But you're right.
Okay. There you go. But anyway.
Well, we're down to a little bit less than 5 minutes, but we were hoping Walter could be with us. Excuse me, Walt could be with us today. I'm not sure what happened. He's, like I said, he's a busy guy, and we love to have him, and we wish we could have him every time.
Yeah.
But we also know that your life takes precedent because we're just doing this for fun. But hopefully he'll be here next week. I know he was going to do Tesla Mechanical Resonance, and I was really looking forward to that because both of us love that album. I think all three of us got that album right when it first came out, and we were so blown away because it was so different than anything else that was out. It wasn't hair metal, wasn't metal. It was like
meat and potatoes, rock and roll.
Yeah,
man.
it's like it came out of the middle of like Bad Company, and stuff like that. It was just, it had a 70s feel. But
It did.
I was listening to it on the way home today, and
Yeah.
every song is just
Yeah.
so good. So
Yeah.
I hate that he didn't get to talk about it, but I know he wanted to. Maybe we'll figure out a way to get that in there.
The
We're gonna
band I was in, with Waltz a while back, we when we first started jamming in bands together, we played "Coming at You Live," and that was always a cool song to play live.
Oh yeah.
So
Oh yeah.
anyway, but it's a great album. Yeah, I definitely will have to. We'll have to have him on to talk about it.
Well,
I will be in Charleston next week, but
oh,
I'll still be able to do it.
okay,
I'll still,
okay.
but
Well,
I'll be in Charleston. So
if you get too busy, I'll understand.
it's all good. But
Do you
yeah,
have?
we just got to figure out the subject matter,
Yeah. Oh
unless
yeah.
we want to let Walter catch up with the
Yeah.
talking about the Mechanical Resonance album.
Um.
However you want to do it, man.
Well, is there? While I share a picture of me and you in our prime, did you want to? Did you have anything you wanted to tell everybody about? Um.
I don't know.
Like with your band, is your band doing anything right now?
Well, we got a gig in 2024, but we don't have any more gigs lined up.
Holy cow!
I'm actually gonna play in some sexy shorts, man. Jesus.
I like
Forest
that.
Hills Apartments. I don't know what that expression was on my face,
I
man. I
don't
think
either.
there was something in that vent that stunk to high heaven. It might have
No,
been a dead body in there.
you might have been
I
responding
don't know.
to my my belly that I was showing off there because that was damn sexy.
I mean, you had
Um,
to cut off shirt, and that I mean, and back then that was the norm.
I was
That was the normal thing. It was
no,
very,
I don't know if that was or not, Jeff.
you know. But
I'm
it's just, oh my God, man.
I
Hey, it's like hey, I'm athletic. It's got athleticism written all over it.
I was trying to be Willie Ames.
Willie Ames, he aiming for what? What's he aiming for? But
I'm just upset that you as a friend didn't go, David. Please, I'm begging you to quit dressing like that because this is getting ridiculous.
me and my cut off Bowser shirt from Shana Na over there. And yeah, we had some I always fancied the pants with the pockets in them, especially the white pair from 4th of July, that
Yeah.
I changed the color in a flash. Boom. They were red.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's another story.
Well, we got less
That's
than a minute.
Anyway.
Once again, the thing I always wanted to end it on, just telling everybody, if you care about your bands, if bands make music that touches you, please
Yeah.
go out there and buy physical copies.
Oh God, yeah, man.
Go see these bands.
Yeah.
You have to give them a reason to keep coming back. And like I said, every time there's a new release, every time there's a concert I can go see, it just brings back all those old memories. And hopefully our show's going to do that for you too.
Yeah,
But
yeah. And they're thinning out.
yeah,
The bands from the 80s are thinning out.
they're dying
So
out.
hang on to them as long as you can, and a lot of them are still hanging on out there and kicking
Yeah.
some ass. There's a lot of great bands out there still from the 80s that are kicking ass. So